On April 15, 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first African American to break the color barrier and play in Major League Baseball. His journey was chronicled in the 2013 biopic 42, which starred a then relatively unknown actor named Chadwick Boseman. In this video, we're going to examine the historical accuracy of 42 as we compare the true story of Jackie Robinson to the movie. This is 42 History versus Hollywood. Early in the 42 movie, Harrison Ford's character, Brooklyn Dodgers general manager Branch Rickey, has a discussion about recruiting Jackie Robinson. During that conversation, it's brought to Rickey's attention that while in boot camp in the Army, Jackie Robinson had been arrested and court-martialed for refusing to go to the back of a segregated bus. The 42 true story confirms that this indeed happened in real life. However, what's left out of the movie is that Jackie Robinson was acquitted of the charges and was given an honorable discharge. In the film, Branch Rickey has a Pittsburgh Courier sportswriter named Wendell Smith help Jackie Robinson when he arrives for spring training. Smith chronicles Jackie Robinson's experience and also becomes his traveling companion. Smith is indeed based on a real-life sportswriter. The Pittsburgh Courier was a popular African-American newspaper in the 1930s and 40s. Not only did Wendell Smith assist Jackie Robinson, it was actually Smith who recommended Jackie Robinson to general manager Branch Rickey. And Jackie Robinson wasn't the only player that Smith recommended from the Negro Leagues. He would also recommend Larry Doby, Monty Irvin, and Roy Campanella. The motivations of sportswriter Wendell Smith to help Jackie Robinson didn't come solely from the fact that he wanted to someday be able to sit in the press box instead of the bleachers. Smith's motivation also came from the fact that he had first-hand experience with segregation in baseball. Smith had played as a teenager in the 1930s, and he once threw a shutout in an American Legion game. After the game, a scout in attendance told Smith that he wished he could sign him, but he couldn't because of his color. Instead, the scout signed the opposing pitcher. Looking back on the incident, Smith commented, "That's when I decided that if I ever got into a position to do anything, I'd dedicate my life to getting Negro players into the big leagues." In one scene in the film, we see Jackie Robinson boarding a train, at which time he turns around and tosses a baseball to a young fan on the platform. The young boy's name is Ed Charles, and we later learn that he grew up to become a Major League Baseball player for the Kansas City Athletics and the New York Mets. In real life, Jackie Robinson never tossed him a ball as the train pulled away. However, the rest of what we see involving the boy is true. Decades later, Ed Charles would recall sitting in the segregated section of the ballpark and watching Jackie Robinson play. "I finally believed what I read in the papers," said Charles, "that one of us had made it. When the game was over, we kids followed Jackie to the train station. When the train pulled out, we ran down to the tracks, listening for the sounds as far as we could. And when we couldn't hear it any longer, we stopped and put our ear to the track so we could feel the vibrations of that train carrying Jackie Robinson. We wanted to be part of him as long as we could." During training camp in the movie, we watch some of the players start a petition against Jackie Robinson. This is indeed in line with the 42 true story. Teammate Dixie Walker instigated a petition against Robinson. It was supported by some of the players, however others, like Pee Wee Reese, refused to sign it. "It didn't matter to me whether he was black or green," Reese later said. "He had a right to be there too." To highlight the racism that Jackie Robinson experienced on the field from other players, an incident is included that happened in Pittsburgh on May 17, 1947, when the Dodgers faced the Pittsburgh Pirates. In the movie, Pirate pitcher Fritz Ostermueller purposely hit Robinson in the head with a wild pitch. In real life, Ostermueller hit Jackie Robinson in the elbow during the game, not the head. However, the only reason that Ostermueller didn't hit Jackie Robinson in the head was because Jackie lifted his arm to shield his face from the ball. Former Pittsburgh Pirate Jim Russell later said that Ostermueller had been ordered to take Robinson down. In another scene in the movie, Phillies manager Ben Chapman hurls racial slurs and insults at Jackie Robinson during a game. Chapman is relentless in his verbal attacks, and at one point in the movie, Robinson goes beneath the dugout into the tunnel and smashes his bat to pieces. at which point general manager and owner Branch Rickey consoles Robinson. The bat-smashing scene never happened in real life, and in addressing this fictional moment in the film, actor Chadwick Boseman said, "At some point he had to break, and the fact that Rachel Robinson didn't fight us to take the scene out of the film, to me proves that it's true." Like in the movie, Chapman's racial slurs caught the attention of the press. At a subsequent game in Philly, the organization asked Ben Chapman to pose with Jackie Robinson for a photo op. The 42 True Story confirms that they did in fact hold a bat instead of shaking hands. In his autobiography, Jackie Robinson said that posing with Chapman was one of the hardest things he ever had to make himself do. When speaking to reporters, Chapman explained his actions like his character does in the movie, that riding opposition players was the Phillies' style of baseball. Years later, Dodgers general manager Branch Rickey commented, "Chapman did more than anybody to unite the Dodgers. When he poured out that string of unconscionable abuse, he solidified and unified 30 men, not one of whom was willing to sit by and see someone kick around a man who had his hands tied behind his back. Chapman made Jackie a real member of the Dodgers." The movie also shows Jackie Robinson taking more physical abuse on the field when St. Louis Cardinal Enos Slaughter spikes Robinson in the leg as he crosses first base. Whether Enos Slaughter intentionally spiked Robinson has been the subject of controversy over the years. Slaughter was known for his aggressive and sometimes dirty style of play, having also spiked Giants infielder Bill Rigney that same year. When questioned as to whether stepping on Robinson was racially motivated, Slaughter responded, "I've never in my life spoke against a black player. I was accused of spiking Jackie Robinson, but I stepped on a lot of players." Another significant moment in the movie is when we see teammate Peewee Reese put his arm around Jackie Robinson on the field in Cincinnati. There is no photograph or video footage of the actual moment, and whether Peewee Reese put his arm around Robinson, his hand on his shoulder, or simply stood beside him is unclear. What is clear is that Reese saw his friend and fellow player being taunted, and he came over to stand by his side and support him. In 2005, Jackie Robinson's widow Rachel recalled learning about the moment. "I remember Jackie talking about Pee-wee's gesture the day it happened," she said. "It came as such a relief to him that a teammate and the captain of the team would go out of his way in such a public fashion to express friendship." A statue commemorating this act of friendship was unveiled in 2005 in front of Keyspan Park, a Brooklyn baseball field. Overall, 42 is a largely accurate film. It does a great job at capturing the essence of Jackie Robinson's story. As of the posting of this video, Rachel Robinson is 98 years old. Jackie passed away on October 24th, 1972, of a heart attack. If you want to learn more about the historical accuracy of 42, check out our article over on historyversushollywood.com that's linked in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, take a swing at that like button and subscribe to our channel. Anchors away, my friends.